Ba 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 ba. All right, all right. Ba 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 from unknown parts of metropolitan New York City, I am the hip and this is the lip.
Good evening, Hip and Lip Nation. Hello, good evening.
Opening night, Major League Baseball, because that's our focus of tonight's podcast. Oh, April Fool's Day is
April
2 days
Fools.
behind us. This is a New York Islanders podcast, and we are down to 5 games.
Well, even
In
though it's
the
an Islanders podcast, do you mind if we talk about baseball since that's a more cheerful topic right now?
since your roommate asked if we could, because that's what he does right now. 5 games left in the regular season for the New York Islanders in the 2015-16 season. Wow. And
Is that it? Just 5.
there's a
Goddamn.
lot and there's a lot to still be determined.
That there is. That is correct. Standings
Yes,
are.
good fill-in of the dead air that was about to put everyone to sleep. So let's get right to it with our standings update. Yes, well, in your Metropolitan Division, the Washington Capitals have, for quite some time now, secured home ice for the playoffs.
Well, they've secured everything. They got nothing to play for, the Capitals. At least that's what the Islanders
116
hope for.
points. Yeah,
That's what the Islanders
116
hope on
points.
Tuesday.
So second place are your surging Pittsburgh Penguins with 100 points, 79 games played. The Pittsburgh Penguins are now 12-1-0 in their last 13 games. Just a ridiculous run.
Yeah, you don't hear them making excuses when their star player went down, but we'll get to that.
I can't imagine if you must be referring to a Columbus Blue Jackets player that went down and excuses. So Pittsburgh, 100 points, 79 games. The Rangers in third place with 95 points and 78 games played. Then it's your New York Islanders in fourth with 93 points and 77 games played. So they're 2 points behind the Rangers with 1 game in hand. So the Rangers only have 4 games left. And right on the tail, as they have for the last couple of weeks, your Philadelphia Flyers, 91 points, 78 games played. And it's 5 teams. And so you might be wondering, well, what about the other division, and are there 2 potential wild card teams there? And if so, we have a what they call a situation. Or I should say, is there just one wild card team there, right? Because that would be 3, and well, not happening. So Florida's 97 points in the Atlantic at the top. Tampa Bay 95 points in second. And then here you go. Third spot right now occupied by Detroit with 91 and Boston with 90.
And they've been skidding as well. Boston's really taking a
Boston
nosedive.
and Detroit both have 79 games played. Philadelphia 78. Philadelphia has 91 points. Detroit 91. Boston 90. So as of this second, Boston is out, and your Islanders and Flyers are your 2 wild card teams, which would put the Flyers up against the Capitals and the Islanders against the Florida Panthers, yes?
That's correct.
If the season ended now, well, like we said before, this is still a very volatile situation with teams still with 4 and 3 games left. The Rangers the Islanders still have to play the Rangers and the Flyers. So this could all change overnight. And before we get to the games that are remaining, we have a lot to discuss of what's transpired since the last show. There's been 3 games. The first 2, the Islanders won, and these were games that we had said these are games the Islanders just have to win against teams that really have nothing to play for other than pride. The Carolina Hurricane Hurricanes and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yes, the Islanders did take care of business. Watching those games didn't make you feel like the Islanders were the best of teams in the NHL, but they did get the W's. They did get the job done. Carolina, I don't know how much you really want to say about this game. This is a 2-1 shootout win at home. Very low-key game in my view. The Islanders didn't score their goal until the third period. It was just meh. But somehow they got 2 points out of it.
Yeah, well, they won the skills competition, as Howie Rose likes to say, and yeah, they got the 2 points. So whoop-de-doo. Very nondescript type of game. They were able to tie the game in the third period off of another Anders Lee deflection. We say that a lot now, it seems like, an Anders Lee deflection goal. But, yeah, not really too much going on in this game. Not exactly a memorable performance by the Islanders, but like you said, they did what they had to do. They got the job done, and they were able to come away with the victory. And I guess someone hasn't told Jack Capuano yet, and I'm actually taking this from a mutual friend of ours who texted this to me right as it happened in the shootout. But he texted to me, Jack it does know that you are allowed to change up the players in the shootouts. You don't have to go with the same three every game, even though John Tavares has proven time and time again he is absolutely inept in the shootout, as he did his, coming in at a mile an hour and just almost like he skated into the goalie, and the goalie just like kind of all he had to do was just do a little poke check after he had his cup of coffee as Tavares was coming in.
All the goalie did was move his stick forward.
All he had to do was just gently nudge his stick forward, and then there goes the puck. Whoops. Attempt failed.
It was like, John, what did you expect? He dribbled into the goalie's
I mean, it's comical. I mean, if they didn't win, you would have been crazy, but they won, so you can laugh about it. But
and they would have won on that play if he scored that goal, and of course it wasn't even close. That was
just a gentle nudge of the stick and knocks the puck off of Tavares' stick as he comes in his very slow and methodical manner. And Jack, it is okay to tell the captain and your best player, hey, you stink in the shootout. Either come up with a different move or we're taking you out, because this cannot continue, because it is. I mean, I don't understand. Like, is he literally trying to put the goalie to sleep? I mean, is he hoping that the goalie will kind of like doze off, and then he would just have like an open net to put the puck into? Is that what his intention is there? Because I don't know what else it is. But hey, whatever. They came away with the victory. Oposo, I think, got the shootout goal right. Grice made the stops, and away we go.
I was hoping to see a line change. How much have we talked about? Let's move Clutterbuck up, but there was no change. No
change.
The hope was more wishful thinking than actually expecting something like that to happen.
Yeah, well, you heard me. Our audience has heard me rail against the current line combination that includes a number 91, and you see the frustration on his face just continue to build. And and Tavares, while he's not an overly emotional guy, at least in terms of how he speaks and his decorum when he gives interviews, but you can just tell that he wears his emotions on his sleeve when he plays. When he's frustrated, he clearly expresses that frustration, and you can just tell that he is just really getting to the point where he doesn't know what to do anymore, because his line mates are just absolutely abysmal. Strome and Bailey and we'll get more into that a little bit later, but it would have been nice to see maybe something different there, even if it's not Clutterbuck, even though I think Clutterbuck would be a really good addition to Tavares' flank. But like you said, nothing done by the Jacks.
At least temporarily, Tavares felt better 2 nights later at home, taking care of business against Columbus, because he netted 2 goals.
He did. That's true. And in that game, we were present. We were in attendance yet again, the hip and the lip. So we were not in a suite for this one, but we got the opportunity to sit, a couple miles up and, kind of make out the specks on the ice that were moving around and have an idea as to what was going on. But another victory for them against a team that's going to be out of the playoffs, against a team that's giving them fits. And Columbus, they played in the last game of the season last year. It was a game that I also attended, the last home game at the Coliseum, or at least regular season home game, and a game that they led 3-1. Same thing in this game, so a little deja vu feeling for me. But in that game, they had an opportunity to seal up home ice. They didn't. They blew it, and they didn't blow this game. They were able to come away with the victory on a goal in the third period. After Columbus had tied the game early in the third period, and they were able to hold on, a little bit of a mad scramble there. But Anders Lee, again, the hero, the power play goal. They twice used the active and lively boards at the Barclays Center to their advantage as the puck ricocheted off the boards from a couple slap shots. Two of their goals came off of the lively and active boards, but they were able to come away with the victory in this one. Again, not overly impressive, but nevertheless, a win, and that will eventually take us to the Pittsburgh game yesterday, which we'll hold off for a moment. But your thoughts on the overall game experience, Mr. Hip, as the Hip and the Lip were in attendance?
Well, it was more your game experience that stood out to me. We were.
Whatever do you mean by that?
So, we were sitting in the 200s, and we decided to get some food between the first and second periods, and got our, crappy hot dog / kielbasa, and then proceeded to the condiment section, and there were probably 6 dispensers for mustard, and every single one of them was empty. Now, I'm not a big mustard on a hot dog person, but I get it. Mustard's been something I've never really liked in general, the taste.
I'm a big mustard guy.
It's been actually growing on me. If I had the slightest bit of mustard on my tongue, when McDonald's would put it on their burgers, it was ruined. But over the years, it's warmed up to me, and so sometimes I dabble a little on here. So now I get it, and some people it's like a requirement, and I didn't realize that it was for you until you just pretty much lost your temper. You didn't lose your temper at any particular person. There was really no recipient whose night you ruined, other than your own, temporarily. You kind of just outburst this is, you were this is unbelievable, just out in the open, because you couldn't get any mustard, and you refused to go back up to your seat, and you gave up watching a portion of the beginning of the second period until you located some mustard. And to me, look, you're at Barclays, and we're there to watch your favorite professional team, and you're so insistent on getting mustard. You missed some of the game.
Well, it was a combination of that, but also remember when I got my hot dog at the concession. So you buy it from the cashier. They take your credit card. Okay, just wait here. We're gonna get your hot dog. We're gonna help the next customer. Okay, all right. So I'm waiting, and a couple minutes go by. She gives me a look like, oh, they're getting it for you. Okay, it's a couple more minutes go by. All right, this is a little ridiculous now. Where's the damn hot dog? It doesn't take that long to put a hot dog on a bun. But all right, I'll give him benefit of doubt. And then finally, the guy that's giving out the hot dogs and sausages at this particular concession stand, he looks at me and points at me. And I'm like, hot dog? And he, okay, and he gets it out of the steamer, warm it for me, and he gives it to me. And this is 6 minutes after I ordered it. And also, people behind us had already gotten their food before I got my damn hot dog. And I'm like, are you kidding me? What is going on here? I've been standing here for 6 minutes. Did you have any idea that I ordered a hot dog? So, I'm not someone that's going to get overly upset about that. All right, it's a nuisance, whatever. But then the mustard put me over the edge. I will admit, once I went to get the mustard and there was no mustard, that put me over the edge.
Well,
so it's just all part of the wonderful Barclays Center experience that us and many other Islander fans have gotten to experience this year. And
speaking of frustrations, a significant Islanders player went down during this game, and tough blow that will Travis Hamonic with a knee injury. We'll get to it, the implications, but he's out. I understand for the rest of the regular season.
Yep.
Which is 5 games now. I mean, it's not a tremendous number, but leaves open the question: are we going to see him in the playoffs? Crossing our fingers, the Islanders make the playoffs. We'll get into that, but I'm okay with getting to Pittsburgh. We got in the hipster moment of seeing it's early, unlike most shows. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I guess and there were questions as to whether or not the Hamonic injury was a result of a dirty play. Now, Scott Hartnell, the Columbus Blue Jacket player that delivered the hit or whatever, caused the injury to Hamonic. He's actually a guy that I was screaming for Garth Snow to trade for because I think he would have been the perfect addition to this team. I think I mentioned his name on a prior podcast around the trade deadline, whether it was before or after or whatever. But he was somebody, so that's kind of the personal irony for me, is that I really wanted Scott Hartnell, a guy with playoff experience, a guy that can play in the top 6, a guy that's physical and whatever. But so that, for me, it was kind of a personal irony that he'd be the one to knock out Hamonic potentially for the rest of the season. Obviously, the regular season, which they've announced, and who knows about the playoffs. So it was a borderline play. I mean, it's tough to see what his intent was, but it was like a knee-on-knee type of collision. You see Hamonic drop right away. I don't know if you saw a replay of it, but, it was definitely a borderline play, and Hartnell does not have a squeaky clean reputation. I'll just say that. But obviously very unfortunate for the Islanders, and really for Islander fans, just a case of deja vu, or in the words of Yogi Berra, deja vu all over again, as Travis Hamonic was injured at the end of the season last year, his other knee. Now, he tore his I think it was his MCL, in a game against Pittsburgh right at the end of the season last year, missed the entire first round, and there are some that believe if he was available that they would have won. But really just a terrible case of deja vu that they may be without Hamonic again for the playoffs. So
you weren't really able to enjoy this victory in the moment because at the time I think we didn't know the extent of the injury.
Right, and, but we were on the Twitter, and there were people Twittering that Travis was out and that he was not going to return, once he went to the dressing room, that he was done for the rest of the game. And you just knew that it was a bad sign
right.
Once they announced that he was done for the rest of the game, even though you hope it could be precautionary or, just making sure that he doesn't, injure himself worse and that he'll be back for the next game. But, of course, they announced the day after that he'll be out for the rest of the regular season. And now his playoff status is, completely up in the air. And who the hell knows if he'll even be back for the postseason, as they're very cryptic, of course, in their description of the injury and, their typical lower body and, he'll be reevaluated and all that nonsense that, keeps us like on edge as fans. So, right.
It raised the question, how's this team going to respond defensively, losing arguably their best defenseman, and 2 days later, afternoon game at home against your surging Pittsburgh Penguins. And, it was as if the Islanders just literally did not show up to their own home ice, just getting blown out 5-0.
Oh, wait, how dare you, Mr. Hip? Didn't show up? What are you talking about? Didn't you hear the coach after the game? That was a phenomenal effort given by the Islanders in their 5-0 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was a phenomenal effort. I mean, they should all be lauded for that performance after the game, right?
Because the Islanders they're missing Halak and they're missing Hamonic and they're missing Adam Pelech too. Yeah, sure. So they have their excuses on this one.
I mean, I don't even know where to begin in this game, and we're gonna get into Coach Capuano and his post-game remarks. I promise the audience we will get into those remarks. But just starting from the beginning of this game, I mean, and this is going into this game. If the Islanders would have won this game conceivably, if they were able to win, however many of their games the rest of the way, they win their last. If they beat Pittsburgh and then maybe win their last 4 or 5, whatever. They may have actually had a chance to claim that second spot in the Metropolitan Division. Now, I just want to throw out there, and I've been yelling and screaming about how this team hasn't won a playoff series in 23 years. Another even more pathetic stat that I want to throw out there is that the Islanders have not hosted Game 1 in a playoff series since 1988. Let this sink in. 1988. They have not hosted Game 1 of a playoff series. They have not had home ice in 28 years. We were 4 years old the last time that they had home ice advantage in the playoffs. And if they would have won this game, maybe it propels them. Maybe it, maybe it puts, kind of galvanizes the team to, go on a streak here. And maybe finish off the season on a high note, claim that second spot in the Metropolitan Division, and potentially, if they do, then host, get home ice advantage and host Game 1 of the playoffs.
If they're third in the Metropolitan Division, is it possible to have home ice? If they have more points than the second place team in the Atlantic?
That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Right now, for example,
I think so. I think so. I think if they had more points than the second place, if they somehow play the second place team in the Atlantic,
they can't be the wild card team. Can't have home ice, right? So we're talking about the third divisional, third place in the division, not the wild card, having more points than the second place divisional team in Atlantic. And actually, this scenario presents itself right now. Well, the Rangers, 95 points in third and Metropolitan, are tied with Tampa Bay at 95 points apiece, who's second in the Atlantic. So let's just say tomorrow the Rangers have a game. Tomorrow the Tampa Bay has a game, and the Rangers win, and Tampa Bay loses. There's your scenario. So I wonder, maybe a listener out there has a better grasp of the intricacies of home playoff ice and this complicated playoff structure.
Yeah, I'll look more into that. But,
anyway,
but
back to the point though. 28 years is a ridiculously long time to not have home ice for a playoff series.
And the bottom line is, this is a Pittsburgh team that you played in the playoffs a few years ago. This has turned into one of their biggest rivals in the league. Obviously you have the Rangers, but Pittsburgh, is arguably, their biggest rival right now. Just in terms of the intensity that the games usually exhibit when they play each other, and considering that, they are fighting for their playoff lives and playoff positioning, against your rival at home with an opportunity to, gain on them in the standings and, again, potentially claim that second spot, which they have to want. They have to. There's no way that you can say to me that they're just, playing their games and, not worrying about home ice. To me, that's nonsense. They have to want to have home ice in the first round, no matter who they would match up against, whether it's Pittsburgh or the Rangers or whatever. But for them to come out and put forth a performance like that is just absolutely mind-boggling, and they have not. I have not seen them play this badly in a long time. That game on Saturday was an absolute disgrace from start to finish. They started off the game okay. Berube, who started this game and was bad. There's no way else to describe his game other than bad. It was terrible. The game got off on a sour note when he, on the power play, as the Islanders were changing, he decided just to throw the puck into no man's land as Nick Leddy is looking at the bench waiting for a change, when he should have just taken the puck behind the net, wait for the new guys to come on the ice, and then let them go up ice. Instead, he throws the puck into no man's land, nobody there. A Pittsburgh player jumps on the puck and, whisks it right past him as he couldn't get back into position. And, Capuano was asked, I think, if that demoralized the team, and he gave us, well, but I don't think so. And again, we'll get into his post-game comments, but that was a damaging goal. They didn't recover from it. The rest of the game, they were just, they were just hideous. And Pittsburgh jumped all over them. Pittsburgh had the better of the play most of the game. They shut them down defensively. They really stifled them defensively. Their forecheck was relentless. Berube, would let in another another couple bad soft goals, turnovers. DeHaan, a terrible turnover. Nielsen, a terrible turnover. That led to goals. And, Bailey, as usual, completely uninvolved, awful stuff, along with Ryan Strome, the two line mates for John Tavares in this game. And, it was just an awful performance from start to finish. And in their biggest game of the season, for them to put out that pathetic and embarrassing a performance is nothing short of unbecoming of a playoff team.
Well,
And I'll let you get a word in since I know I just went on there.
but you know what? I mean, to me, it wasn't as surprising as maybe you, at least with your words, indicate. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was surprising as you may indicate, or as you make us think it was surprising to you, because the Islanders in their last 10 games, they're 4-5-1. Those 4 victories are against teams that are out of the playoff race. And they're 0-5-1 against playoff-bound teams. And in those 6 games, with 5 losses and one shootout loss, they scored 8 goals in 6 games against these playoff-bound teams. So they're cleaning up against teams that are out, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. But in their last 10, they haven't won a playoff. They haven't beaten a team that's heading to the playoffs. And so this, to me, is kind of icing on the cake of those last 10 games.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And believe me, I'm not going to sit here and say that they've been playing well. It's not like, they went into this game on a hot streak or that they've been playing great hockey and then, they just happen to throw up a stinker, which happens. And over the course of an 82-game season, even the best teams will throw up stinkers. We understand that. But, I mean, this team has not played good hockey really since the middle of February. And that's the most alarming part of this. But I guess my point was you would have thought that because of the fact that they were playing their rival, this is, again, a game that they should have gotten up for just because if they win, they put themselves in great position to maybe get that second spot.
I think they would have been 2 points behind the Penguins if they won.
I think they would have had a game in hand too, right? Am I
right? Yeah. And now, a day later, literally, they are 7 points behind.
Right.
7. Because
they're done now. Now it's finished. Forget it.
Pittsburgh has that second spot. Won again tonight against Philadelphia, blew them out.
Yep, correct.
And yes, the Penguins have 2 games in hand over the Islanders, but it's still 7 points.
Yeah. Oh no. Forget it now. I mean, now that they're Pittsburgh, I guess the Islanders have 2 games in hand on Pittsburgh, but yeah, they're not catching them now. They're finished. No. At least in terms of getting the second spot, Pittsburgh most likely will get that second spot. We'll see what the Rangers do. Again, like you said, if they would have won this game, they're then 2 points behind with the game in hand. And again, maybe they have an opportunity to get that second spot in home ice advantage against something they haven't had in a long time. And I truly believe if they would have had home ice last year, they would have won the series. But, that's besides the point. Again, for them to come out and put forth this embarrassing effort, embarrassing performance really was just mind-boggling. And you heard Tavares after the game use those words, unacceptable and embarrassing. And, you've heard a lot of excuses coming out of the Islander camp over the last week or so, and this mentality. And we're going to get to Capuano now because I want to go off on the coach, who I have, I don't mince my words when I talk about Capuano and my true feelings about his coaching job and his, him as a coach overall. And I think that, he leaves a lot to be desired as a coach, that he should have been fired multiple times by now. And I don't know if you heard the press conference, but that press conference he gave was absolutely, I mean, you talk about a coach that is a coach at this time of year. It's not about X's and O's anymore. Now it's about motivating your team or demonstrating leadership. When your team is out playing well, the whole guy's accountable and demonstrate leadership. And this guy, for him to come out in the postgame and make the comments that he did, like, oh, well, what do you want us to do? We have injuries. What was us? What are we going to do? What about Pittsburgh? And then he makes what about their injuries? And then he makes the comment, well, Pittsburgh's healthy. Pittsburgh's healthy? Healthy? Are you out of your mind? I guess their all-world center that they lost. I guess their goaltender that was out yesterday, which they start their backup goalie. And, their second-best defenseman are out of the game yesterday, yet they completely demolish and kick your team's rear end all over the ice. But you know what? They don't have injuries, huh? What are we going to do? What do you expect from us? We had injuries. The ice was bad. We had bad puck luck. The ice had eyes. The puck had eyes. What are you going to do?
But it's not like the Islanders have a lot of guys in the bullpen that they could put in there.
And that was another comment that he made, and which may have been a little bit of a shot at the general manager. And you're starting to wonder if there's a rift there now with the GM and the coach, despite their symbiotic relationship.
Well, what was that? I didn't see it, but what was that in response to?
What's that?
Was it him saying that? Like, did somebody ask a question like, why aren't you using Bernier or Pulak?
No, it
Or
wasn't a direct like. I don't even remember if the question was like, "Are you going to make changes?" I think he was just kind of adding on to a point that he was making. But yeah, but his words were, it's not like we have a lot of guys in the bullpen, making a little baseball metaphor there right before opening day. But what I will say is, and again, that may have been a shot at Garth Snow for the fact that there's nobody in Bridgeport that they would feel comfortable bringing up right now. Most
yeah,
of
but
their,
what about playing Pulak over
right,
Zidlicki and or
right.
Straight?
Right, but even more than Pulak over Straight, and look, Straight stinks. I don't know why they keep continue to play Straight. Obviously, they could have put in Pulak once Hamonic went down for
Right.
instead of putting in Zidlicki, who hadn't played in a couple of weeks, like 3 weeks, I think it was. Now he had like missed like 13 out of the last 18 games or whatever it was. But instead he decides to put him in there. But what's most alarming to me is that the coach is almost basically acting as if we're content to be here right now, and we have no expectations for ourselves, and basically putting out this woe is us, we have injuries, what do you want me to do, what do you want us to do, even though they're trying to secure a playoff spot, fighting for their playoff lives, and you want to go into the playoffs trying to peak at the right time, peak at this time, and play your best hockey, so that way you give yourself an opportunity to beat the best in the league. After you mentioned that they've lost 5 in a row now against playoff teams, and they're only just beating up on, or not beating up, but squeaking by, the non-playoff teams. But yes, and, obviously he can, put in Bernier, which I said last episode that I want to see happen. Get Bailey out of the lineup. I can't stand this side of him anymore. It's time to get him the hell out. Put in Bernier. Put Clutterbuck on the top line. Make another adjustment, when Grabowski comes back, then get, Strome out of the lineup too, get them both back in, until then, at least get Bernier in, and then, however else you're going to adjust the lineup, you do, but, or in terms of the line combinations, but, it's time to send a message that this is not acceptable, because right now he is almost acting like that performance was acceptable for a team that thinks that they're a playoff that is a potentially playoff bound team right now. Like, he is accepting of that garbage. And that's the most alarming part.
I mean, would it be unprecedented? I mean, I don't know if you could think of examples offhand, but let's just say Jack actually implemented all of those suggested changes that you threw out there. Would it be unprecedented for a coach with 5 games left in the season before you even clinch a playoff spot to implement all those changes essentially overnight? I'm not saying that he shouldn't do it, but
they're not big changes. They're not major changes, though. It's not like Bernier's on the active roster. You could just slot him in the lineup and bench either Bailey or Strome, who both have been miserable.
But Bailey, okay, so you don't think that it's perceived as a big change when a guy that's been playing with Tavares all year, right? Hasn't been Bailey playing on his line most of the year?
I mean, he's been on and off. I mean, Tavares has had so many different line mates, and you're starting to. And
this year?
Yeah. I mean, Bailey hasn't been on his wing the whole year. Look, I mean, he's changed up line combinations, a lot of times. Now he's trying to. I guess he wants to try and allow these guys to develop some chemistry. Even though Bailey and Tavares have now been playing on the same team for 6 or 7 years or whatever it is, and he's just trying to allow these line combinations to develop some chemistry. You're seeing the line with Nielsen, Oposo, and Kuhlman start to play a little bit better. But Tavares, I mean, he's just right now he is playing with 2 stiffs, and you mentioned Pittsburgh and how they were surging, and they're surging despite the loss of their all-world center, because their other all-world center has put the team on his back, and John Tavares is not. And I'm not excusing John Tavares at all. Yes, he scored 2 goals against Columbus, but you look at his stats, and they're very underwhelming for the month of March. But you look at who he's playing with. He's playing with 2 stiffs that offer nothing. You have Strome, that is a young player that's lost right now, who has no idea, where the ice is. And then you have Bailey, who, completely has just never learned how to play the game the right way, doesn't take advantage of his skill set. And because he's playing with those 2 guys, you're seeing the repercussions on Tavares' game. And like I said, you're seeing the frustration in his face now, in his facial expressions and his body language, and you're starting to see the frustration boil up in a player that's as competitive and that works as hard as Tavares and that wants to be the best and wants to lead his team to victory. And right now he can't do it.
Well, with all that awfulness, the Islanders have 5 games to go, and their magic number is 4. So they have to average fewer than 1 point per game on average to just make the playoffs at least. Okay. Now, positioning and all that stuff, that's just, to me, the way that this team is playing, I think they should just be, well, as a fan, we should be relieved. Is that the right word? Proud? I don't know. Relieved that they actually make the playoffs the way that they're going. Now they can't have that attitude. And is it fair to say we'll be relieved that they make it? I mean, the way this has gone the last month?
I mean, honestly,
am I being too hard?
Well, I mean, I guess at this point, the Islanders are going to, try and, put together this narrative that they make the playoffs like it's a victory. And Capuano, and it's something else I didn't jump on him for. He made comments early in the week that the team doesn't get enough credit despite their injuries. And this is before Hamannik got hurt, and their injuries up until that point where, yes, Halak went down, even though, Greiss was playing, the best hockey of his career, and he hasn't played that well, and Berube stunk, and look, Berube was bad on Saturday, and that doesn't help when your goalie stinks. And obviously, like I said, that awful play that led to the first Pittsburgh goal. But the Islanders are going to put forth at least Capuano and Snow, to give the illusion at least to their new owners, and put forth the narrative at least. In my opinion, kind of putting on a facade for the new owners that, if they make the playoffs, like it's an accomplishment and they should get pats on the back, and that they will pat themselves on the back, like they did last year, just for getting into the playoffs, even if they happen to, go out with a whimper in the first round. So, no, I mean, getting to the playoffs is not an accomplishment, at least for this team, for this group. And if all they do is get to the playoffs and lose in 5 in the first round, they need a big makeover in the offseason. And it starts at the top with the GM who needs to go.
Maybe the stuff that he's saying, he's trying to save face so that the fans, their expectation only is relief if they make the playoffs and not.
Which is the wrong mentality. It's the absolute wrong mentality.
I understand it's wrong, but at least as far as the fans' expectations and maybe the upper management expectations.
Well, that's what it is. It's for upper management. It's for the new owners.
Believed that they get in, that means that they didn't expect to do better, which means, again, that
happy to be here. And and when is it time to take the next step? When is it time to take that next step? They've been in the playoffs now. This group, some new faces, but this overall core group has been in the playoffs now twice since 2013. In 2013, that team surged into the playoffs. You mentioned the surging Penguins. That Islander team that year had a hiccup at the very last week, but they were playing great, their best hockey of the year by far. And they gave Pittsburgh all they can handle. And that Islander team was young. They were energetic. They played fast. They played hard. And they gave Pittsburgh, which was loaded with talent, all that they could handle. And that hunger that team demonstrated, that does not exist right now. This team is complacent. That's why I screamed at the deadline that they needed something to shake up that locker room, because right now you have a bunch of players that are complacent, that are just content with their position right now, and they're not looking to hold themselves accountable and try and strive to make themselves better and reach that next level. Winning a playoff series and demonstrating to the league that they are a legitimate cup contender. Because right now, I can guarantee you, nobody in this league in this conference right now would fear the Islanders. That goes for the Panthers, Tampa Bay, even though they just lost Stamkos. Talk about an injury. You want to make excuses, Jack? What about Tampa Bay now losing their captain and all-star center, Steven Stamkos, for at least a month? Would you rather you lost Tavares for a month, Capuano, while you're still making excuses? So I can guarantee you right now, nobody fears the Islanders the way they're playing.
We look at the schedule here. We've referenced it last show. It's not a cakewalk to go here. Tampa Bay is tomorrow night, and they lost. This is their first game without their star center, who had an unfortunate health scare there.
Yeah.
But then at Washington, at the Rangers, then home against Buffalo, and at Philly. So 4 out of the 5 teams playoff bound, 1-0 to play for in Washington. But I guess what I'm getting at is here, even as I go through this, we're almost looking for opportunities for the Islanders to capitalize on these teams, as opposed to just coming out and saying, all right, the Islanders are going to go out. We know that they're going to give these teams good games, and the Islanders are they still have the ability to control their fate and positioning in the playoffs. it's more about, well, this team is down because of their star player is out. The Capitals, well, they have nothing to play for because they've locked everything in. I mean, that right there, I think, signifies the state of mind of the fan, and worse, even worse, the coach, as I think his press conference from yesterday alludes to. So, there's just no confidence.
No, their confidence is lacking right now. It's lacking in the coaching staff.
You want a coach that comes out and says, look, we today we were just horrible, but our body of work will, and he'd be lying through his teeth if he said this, but at least it could possibly inspire confidence if you say something like, our body of work through the regular season shows that we could come out of these bad losses and respond, and even if we have to take on another playoff bound team the next night or 2 days later, that we give it our best. And look, we have 4 out of the 5 games down the stretch are going to be tough. Maybe they're all going to be tough, and we know we're going to play our the best that we can, and we still have the ability to control our fate, and we'll see how it plays out, instead of alluding to not having other guys you could call up, or having players that are banged up. I mean, that just doesn't inspire anyone.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and that's why hearing those comments from Jack was alarming. And you want to say that he's trying to alleviate the pressure from the players, but I just don't see it. I just see a coach right now that's just accepting of this, that basically has this woe is me, woe is us mentality, making excuses, and for a team that's fighting for a playoff spot, that's trying to position themselves and trying to get to a point where they're playing their best hockey going into the playoffs, so they can carry that momentum in and maybe make a run in the playoffs, maybe potentially win a series, something they haven't done in, again, 23 years. And for him to come out and have that attitude and that mentality was just completely, just like he was accepting of what happened on Saturday afternoon, and that just is not a winning coach.
So our goal is to have a show after the Ranger game on Thursday.
Yep.
Because we want to split this up. These are critical games. We usually go a week, but I think, look, if we go another week, the games are over, because the last game is
next Sunday.
Yeah. Will be over a week from today. The regular season will be over. So I think we have to split it up. So that'll be our plan. But my attitude going into these games are more hoping to not just see a collapse and this team just washing the season away, as opposed to getting excited for them to fight for playoff position. I think that's how I feel going into watching tomorrow. It's more about worrying of watching a collapse, as opposed to.
Well, Islander fans are used to it, though. This team has had no success. It's not like, the Blackhawks have hit a rough patch here, but Blackhawk fans have seen their team have so much success over the last, however many, 6 years. And, I think, they probably approach it from that perspective, we're excited that our team was once again competing, for a playoff spot, where they are in the playoffs. They will once again be competing for the Stanley Cup. Hopefully, they will pick up their play, going into the playoffs, and we expect that they will make a run. Because why? Because they've done it multiple times in the past. Islander fans, we have not seen, forget about, the team and their history over the last 23 years and having, no success and no playoff series victories and whatever. But you know what? This group has not demonstrated. This group has not demonstrated that they know how to win, that they can overcome adversity and, overcome challenges. And yes, they have had injuries. They lost their goalie. Yes, they have lost Hamonic now. Who knows how long he'll be out. But, I know it's cliched and whatever, but adversity, reveals the true character of a team. And right now they're going through it, and we'll see if they can rise above it, and if they, are willing to, fight and claw their way, over whatever challenges and shortcomings that they have right now, that they're going to face, the challenges that they'll face, and the shortcomings that they have.
Magic number, as there's a playoff, the proverbial saying is playoff push. I'm going to say playoff limp, because that's what it feels like. That's what it has felt like to me. It's not like a it must be a lot more fun to be a Penguins fan right now. Obviously the way they're playing, and you just have not seen anything like this from the Islanders at all in the last month and change. And we go back to that Ranger game where they came out flying, and we just have not seen that seen that since. I guess that was just a rare.
It was a mirage. That's what it was. At least right now.
It gave us some hope that maybe we shouldn't have suckered into believing in. Well, so I mean, I think that's a good setup for the week here. So Tampa Bay is tomorrow night, then at Washington on Tuesday night, then at the Rangers at MSG on Thursday night, and then we'll be back.
Yeah, well, we'll see where they are, and hopefully we're talking about how all of a sudden, they flipped the switch and now look like the team that they did the first half of last year, and we'll see what happens with Hamonic. We'll see what if Grabovski comes back. He's supposed to, I think, come back soon. I don't know. We'll see about that, but to me, right now, if I put my coaching fedora on, I think it's obvious that either Strome or Bailey come out of the lineup for Bernier. Move Clutterbuck up to Tavares' line, because right now it can't hurt. Right now he is completely handcuffed with those two on his line. And, we'll see what Jack does before the game tomorrow night. But, yeah, this is it. I mean, we've been saying crunch time and the push. It seems like it starts like in the beginning of March, and, the season's 82 games, and you're like, all right, well, let's you have the dog days of February and then into March. And we've been doing this now, since January. And, our first podcast was against the Capitals, and I remember I think that was a pretty poor performance that I railed about on that night. And here we are now. It's almost 3 months later, and they are in a playoff position. They should make it. If they don't, it'll be a 2007 Mets style collapse. If they don't, and we'll have plenty to rant about then. But hopefully, we'll be previewing a week from tonight. We'll be previewing their first round matchup. So that's the hope from these parts of unknown parts of metropolitan New York City.
So on that note, we'll say enjoy the next, enjoy this week's games as best as you can. Sweat them out. That's what I feel like I'll be doing. And maybe a win over Tampa Bay will ease some of the worry and concern that they can't at least clinch a playoff spot. I really feel like that'll take some pressure off. If they could somehow win these next two, clinch the playoff spot, and then that will be the confidence that they need to keep the high level of play going. But one step at a time.
Well, Mike and the Mad Dog had their reunion this past Wednesday. In the words of Chris Russo, maybe they could play out loosey-goosey, Mike. If they wrap up a playoff spot, maybe they'll be able to be a little loosey-goosey in the last couple of games. What do you think, Mike?
So I stole his. Did I steal his words, or you're just?
No, I just wanted to throw loosey-goosey in there, just because he always would use that phrase whenever he thought a team was playing without pressure. So right. Like you said, if they win these next two games, clinch a spot, maybe that takes the pressure off, and a little loosey-goosey, and maybe if they win. Then they start playing better and, peak going into the playoffs, maybe win a couple more of those games and, maybe get the third spot, although I guess at this point you would say, do they really want the third spot to get Pittsburgh or, maybe would they prefer Tampa or Florida right now, even though I said that they play Tampa, they would get their, rear ends kicked, even though they don't have Stamkos now. I still don't like Tampa as a matchup, but hey, we'll see.
Yeah, we may have a better idea in 4 days. Because they'll only have 2 games to go.
The picture, it's still very murky right now, and I'm sure it'll be a lot clearer for us come Thursday.
All right. Well, on that note, all right. Thanks for and we'll just throw in the plugs of following follow @HipInTheLip on Twitter, rate us on iTunes.
Yep, rate us, comments, feedback. We want feedback.
Yeah, give us, obviously give us 0 stars and tell us how much we suck and how boring we are to listen to, and that we should just concentrate on our exciting day jobs.
Well, I'm sure they won't find this one boring, even though they might have thought it sucked, but I'm sure they won't find it boring, considering that I have almost lost my voice to the point where I'm going to sound like Vito Corleone at this rate. The Islanders, what's wrong with the Islanders? They stink.
Well, you just bring in your roommate to do that without any notice.
Well, we'll have him on. At some point when we're talking about baseball, we'll have him on to talk about his beloved New York Mets.
All right.
Matt Harvey. I love Matt Harvey. He's amazing.
All right.
All
right, bye.
All right.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right,
Bye. 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 Bye.